Here, did everybody get a copy of the minutes of the last meeting? Well, here goes. Let's start now, Phil. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Any corrections to the minutes of the
Can I see the
meeting?
minutes?
I gave you a copy.
Oh, let me just refresh it.
Specifically. So you don't want me to read them at every meeting?
No, they got them, they can, everybody has a copy of them, so.
Yeah, I sent everybody an email copy. I know, I didn't spell your name right.
Oh,
I know, I fixed it.
yes, thank you.
Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of the?
I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the
Second.
previous meeting.
David?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not voting. I can't vote on that, so
You were here.
I wasn't here.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, it looks like you're up to bat, Chief.
I was told you wanted to speak about the cruisers. So the town warrant has 2 vehicles on. Right now, I'm short 2 vehicles. I had to take 2 out of service that won't pass inspection. One got rejected, the other one I know is gonna get rejected, so I didn't take it. So right now, I'm down to 3 cars. The 3 cars that I have, the lowest mileage on any of the cars that I have right now is 130,000. They need to be replaced. I mean, if we get 2 approved, I'm gonna need another 2 next year. So I've still got the quote from earlier this year. I called MHQ. They said the quote would be very similar. They can probably work with it a little bit. If we join the Plymouth County Commissioner's bid, we can probably get them for about $600 a piece less, but it will cost $400 to join that. I don't want to spend $400 out of my budget unless the cars are approved. Doesn't make any sense to spend that money if the voters aren't going to approve the cars.
I understand that.
But I mean, right now the fleet is absolutely deplorable. I brought 3 of the cars down to Lamoureux's for assessments. At the request of the board, the Expedition, Lamoureux quoted us, if you have copies of that. Lamoureux quoted us, I think it was $3,000 to fix the Expedition, and that doesn't include the body work. They don't do body work there. One of the reasons that vehicle failed inspection was excessive body rot. I can tell you that the 04 Taurus is worse in body rot than the Expedition. I think we were quoted $2,000 to fix the Taurus. So I took those both offline. We're not using those at all anymore. I took my unmarked car down to Lamoureux's, thinking it was the best car in the fleet, and they quoted me $4,023 to fix that. I had most of the work done locally at a substantially lower cost than that, but I can't afford to lose another car. So that car's been repaired. It's all hinges on whether we get the cars approved by the voters and at the town meeting. But come spring, even if these 2 cars are approved, I'm gonna need to keep those 2 cars working, the 2 marked cars. Because right now I have nothing. If I have a car go down right now, I have nothing to replace it with.
Well, where you had 2 cars that can't pass inspection, and the other one, you know is not gonna pass inspection.
It's got rust through on both sides. On the driver's side floor is rotted through.
That's
I
controllers?
think the town should approve your 2 vehicles, mainly for the safety of the town.
For the
Because-
safety of the
because
officers too.
Yeah, said but not said. And I think that if your cars are in real bad shape, you may not be able to make a call for a 911 call, except to my house, right?
Except to your house, we've had cars break down on the way to calls. We've had cars towed in. We've restricted now, we've scaled back on what calls we're responding to because we don't want to put the miles on the cars.
Now, the 3 cars that you have are your car and the 2 marked?
The 2 marked, one's an 07, one's a 2010. Now, I supplied a substantial amount of information to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, and I believe you might also have copies of it. I did a lot of research on life expectancy of police cars, and I think that's what you have right there.
Right.
If you look at those, if you use the modal values, and I attached all the data from across the country, from police departments everywhere, using modal values, a police car lasts 3 years or 100,000 miles. That's it, they're done. If you use averages, it's slightly higher, but either way, all of our cars are, I mean, the lowest, I think, the newest car I have, I want to say, is the 2010, it's 5 years old. I think our average is 5.7 years of age, and
I think in your report you said 7.
is it 7? I don't.
That's what you said.
I don't have it, I don't have a copy of that, it's in another file. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, maybe I do have it.
Because some are 10 years old.
I have 2 that are 10 years old, 2 that are almost 8, 2 that are 8 years old, and 1 that's 5. So I just, I mean, I don't know what else to do. I need cars, we need them desperately.
I would agree with you. If the town does, if the voters do approve them, you're gonna get the SUVs that
We're gonna put the SUVs.
we looked at?
Yeah.
The 4x4s.
Mhm. It makes much more sense to get those for the price difference. There's
Oh,
more
it's-
room inside them, there's more ground clearance, they're more versatile.
When you need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the questions that you may get at the town meeting where you have 3 cars and you, so to speak, have 3 cars down, do you really need 6 cars?
We don't have 6 cars.
No, you say you have 3 now,
I have 3.
and you got 3 that are, 2 that didn't pass inspection and 1 that,
So right now I have 3 cars.
yeah. What's the total cars that you have? I mean,
We got the Humvee also. Honestly, I don't count it. We only use it for emergencies.
So you have to count
snowstorms.
it. And it's a real thing. It's real. You have to
But I
count it.
can't use it for patrol.
Doesn't matter. You have to count it. I understand that you don't want to count it, but you have to because it's something that you use. If you don't have it, then you can't count it. Otherwise, you have to count it. And that's what people see. People see, you're saying that you don't want to count it because it's not something that you have, but it is something you have. So you have to count it. Just have to.
Okay.
You do. Everyone sees it as a car. They see it in the driveway. They see it on the parades. They see it on patrol. You have to count it. And that's something you have to do.
Okay.
It's not usable.
Other than snowstorms and emergencies, no.
Sure, but you have
It's
to.
kind of, well, then we have an ATV also.
Of course. They see a car. I have an ATV. Actually, I don't, but I don't count that. I have a truck. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna count something that doesn't exist.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, we have 5 vehicles.
6.
6. Okay.
So some of the questions, one of the questions that they may ask you at the town meeting, could you survive with 5? Could you get rid of one of your vehicles?
We did that already, and I know I presented the information to the board, and David can attest to this. When they were asked how many vehicles that we needed, the answer was 5. We have the one that I have just by contract. We have the 2 patrol vehicles. We needed a spare patrol vehicle in case one of them went down, which we always have, and we need a second unmarked. We're using the second unmarked for sensitive investigations, surveillances, which I have 2 surveillances I need to do now, I have nothing to do them in. And also, if we want to target aggressive drivers, we can't do it in a marked unit. So we need to have the second unmarked unit. And I've also spoken to some of the other area police departments, West Brookfield, much smaller departments than ours. They have the same amount of cars. They have 5 cars also. So they, I mean, all of the cars that we have now have well over 100,000 miles in them. They are all being used. They all have a purpose.
And,
Most recently, when we had the gentleman from Southbridge who was a fugitive, who cut off his GPS bracelet, we had to mobilize officers to respond to both schools and stand by at both schools. We got assistance from the state police and other surrounding towns as well. I had to borrow cars to fill that function. Even things like the parades. If we cut down a car and we have a car that goes down, we are not going to have enough cars. But I've been through this with the board. I've been through this with finance also.
And as you say, it's for the safety of the officers and also.
It's to
safety
fulfill
for
operations.
For the public too. You say that the average vehicle runs about 100,000 miles, and they usually turn them in every 3 years.
I gave the board a...
This board here has more or less recommended in the past years to get you a vehicle so they turn over, so you don't have to get 2 or 3 at one time to raise the tax rate, to raise an appropriate or whatever. I was hoping that in the last town meeting that they would give you at least one vehicle, that never happened. Does anybody have any questions for the chief as far as the vehicles?
No questions, but I would like to say that I think that every vehicle should be replaced every 2 years. So if we have 5 vehicles every 10 years, every vehicle will be brand new, and we shouldn't go over this. This is operating cost. They should have a new vehicle every 2 years instead of,
Well,
I feel that they should have that, and I'm not sure how that could be addressed. Maybe with the, instead of going to town meeting, it's not appropriate to ask for a vehicle every 2 years.
well,
They should get a vehicle every 2 years.
The thing that we had planned was to replace a vehicle every year.
No.
So you're spending like,
They should have one replaced every 2 years. Of course, now we're in this crisis situation where all vehicles need to be replaced.
that's true.
They should not be in wanting of vehicles. They should have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 vehicles replaced now, and every 2 years they should have a vehicle. That's what I suggest. This is the capital planning board. We're supposed to be capital planning for the future, not for any specific person, whether we like them or not, whether we like the selectmen, whether we like the chief, whether we like the capital planning board, whether we like anyone. We should just move on, and just, these people need these vehicles, and we shouldn't have to, beg for a vehicle every whatever. They should get a new vehicle every 2 years. It's an operating cost, just what we cost to have our town. That's how I feel, anyway.
I would agree with you.
We
Okay?
had a replacement schedule,
Yeah, we did,
and we got away from it for
Right.
some reason.
You
Does
know,
anyone
and-
know what that reason was? Why did we get away from that? Because that's something the finance committee has talked about several times.
We had a replacement schedule where year 1, the police department got a car, year 2, they got a car, year 3, they did not. That rotation worked out fantastic. But we've seen a new car now in 5 years.
You should get one every other year. And then every other year you have a new, that's 5 cars, that's 10 years.
And the problem is now that we have, all the cars need to be replaced, so we're kind of in a pinch. One of the things I suggested to, I made mention to Dario Nardi was a lease program. If we had a lease program, I can incorporate that as part of my operating budget. That just requires approval of the budget at town meeting. It wouldn't require a separate article at town meeting. Because right, I mean, when they put the articles of this town bylaw that says anything over $25,000 is subject to the vote. And, I mean, all police cars now are pushing 40,000. So it always requires a vote of the town meeting. However, if it was part of the operating budget, I don't believe that it would.
Somebody told me that if you lease the vehicles, it would be cheaper to lease them than to buy them outright.
I think
Is that a
the
true
dollar
statement?
figure, I might have included the figures in the lease in there. If I didn't, I do have them. I was quoted these back in the spring, I thought. Give me a second. If you want to do a 3-year lease, the payment over the year would be about $13,000, which makes the overall cost of the car on this quote $41,804, which is about $3,000 higher.
How much is the new vehicle? You said 40,000 just 3 seconds ago.
Yeah, then this was
So
quote
this
from
is
January.
41,000.
Yes.
Right, so it's always more expensive to lease a car, even for me. To lease a car, you're leasing a vehicle from somebody who owns the vehicle, who has to sell the vehicle to make money. So always it's more. It's a different way to do the finances. So every year is less money. But in the course of the lifetime, it's more money. It's always more money. And you said, this was years ago.
That was for January.
No. I mean, it's always, it's irrelevant, really. It's such a small amount more or less. Say $5,000, who cares? You need the cars. We need the cars. The town needs the cars. We need this. So how can we do this? We have to pass it at town vote.
This might require a little more research. I think if the lease figures are included as part of my operating budget, it just involves the annual town meeting and approval of the overall
It's a
budget.
different way to do it. And maybe that's the way to do it, because we just need to do it. We don't need to do this every year.
I don't think you wanna put it up to a political process. It's not the money, it's not the, if it's $1,000 more, $1,000 less, it's the fact that you can be rendered non-operable by the will of a vote.
But we can do this
Or
next,
the fact that we're making it get 2/3 vote.
and we can do this
Make it a
next,
2/3 vote on paper.
and we can do this the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and in perpetuity. And it's kind of ridiculous, really, because they need a car every 2 years.
You could have people that go to town meeting that don't really give a care about doing the right thing.
And then we're stuck, and then
I agree with you. I agree with you.
maybe we need to,
Police
maybe
car
lease the
for a
car.
police department is much more than just operating supplies.
It's not paper we're talking about, it's something important. So we need these vehicles.
Did I say it was paper?
You didn't, you said operating supplies.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is, and you're saying that I question whether the useful life is 3 years.
It could be 4 years.
He's providing documentation, in support of an argument. These things aren't really a 3-year useful life.
Well, and some of the,
Which
Some of the
capital
paperwork that he
bylaw-
gave us-
The capital bylaw says 5,000 and 3-year useful life. Now, it may be able, you can drag it out, but is that a useful life? Is it a useful life if you're putting thousands of dollars in repairs to get it beyond 3 years.
No,
I don't know, it's just sort of discussion, but, that's all I got. That's all I got. Can't put a gun to the voters' heads and pass this.
No.
You know,
but you could change it and make it a lease instead of a capital expense.
Okay.
Is that possible?
That would require a vote at the annual town meeting, we can't do that at the special
I
anyway.
can't do it at
but
the special.
Just once? though?
It's something we can have discussion on between now and next night.
But the
Yeah,
board,
but
what the
that-
board
that-
was thinking was to purchase these, if we're gonna look at leasing, we have to purchase the, but whatever we do now, we need them, we need the cars. Was to purchase them now and then look into the possible leasing for the annual.
How would you purchase them now without a vote?
No, you have to get a vote.
You have to get a vote.
At the special town?
It's on,
meeting?
there's an article on the special,
For how many cars?
2. 2. And it requires a majority vote only.
I think having new cars is great. The reason, we should always have new cars. Cars shouldn't break down. Cars should be replaced. We should move on, and they should be a capital expense. And this is what we do, this board is supposed to suggest capital planning, and they should have vehicles. Regardless of how we, feel about, any boards, we should have the vehicles to let them do what they need to do. Or that's how I feel. I mean, it's gonna cost, so we save $1,000 or $10,000. It's a lot of money. But over the course of how long? 5 years, $10,000, $2,000 a year, it's a town. We have a town to take care of, not ourselves. It's not my vehicle, it's not your vehicle, it's our vehicle. We need to replace these vehicles. Not necessarily unmarked vehicles or military police vehicles, but that's how I feel. We should just have line vehicles, marked vehicles. I don't think we should have any unmarked vehicles or any, military vehicles. But we should have new vehicles that are reliable. That's what I would want if I was running that business. That's probably what you want.
I disagree with you on the unmarked vehicles.
I
These are
understand that, I
very
understand it,
valid
but I understand that, and we all disagree, but I would want vehicles that work. When you turn the key, they turn on and they go. And I understand that, you may not, you have different views, but that's fine. I still think that you should have cars that work.
I'm completely agreeing with it.
Do you have any questions, Jim?
I have a question. Because this is all new to me. Bear with. In some of this information that you gave us, it says that some of these different departments, or police, be they in Texas, Kansas, whatever, that they're assigned to particular officers, and then they are responsible for the care of those vehicles. That vehicle breaks down, you're responsible, it's your car. Is that something that's at all feasible in this town, or is it the fact that it's, it's smaller, or who's ultimately responsible for it not getting proper service or being driven like I'm 14 years old?
I can tell you that in regards to the service, if we weren't maintaining the vehicles, they wouldn't have gone half as far as they went. The fact that we got 10 years out of basically a family sedan is a miracle for a police vehicle, that it made it this far. Maintenance is not an issue. The cars are regularly maintained. Issuing a car, the initial capital outlay on that would be $250,000. But then you've got a car that's gonna last 8 years.
When you say that, are you referring to each officer gets a car?
Some departments issue their officers, state police issue their officers a vehicle. But those vehicles are lasting 7, 8 years, that's in the data also, that I supplied. But you're right, when one individual is responsible for the care and maintenance of that car, they treat it like their own.
Yeah, and not, oh, it's his fault.
Well, when you've got 20 guys, 20 different guys driving the same car.
Everybody can go like that. Okay.
Yes, hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a question for Chief Spiewakowski. The question is, the two cars that basically are not functioning now, is the plan for those two cars, are they being traded in, or are they gonna go to town auction or be sold, or?
They're probably gonna be scrapped.
Okay,
They have no value.
okay.
The what, I'm sorry?
The two cars that we took offline. They won't pass inspection.
So they're not functioning.
No.
Has any of the places, MHQ or anybody, offered any money for a trade-in, even $500 or
I haven't
something?
looked into any of it yet.
Okay. And then the other question I had was regarding the undercover car. You know, I do know that Detective Chase does drive that Ford Taurus. I mean, I've been in the town since 2006, and you know, I do understand the need for an undercover car, but I mean, one of the things is, once you learn what the undercover car is, every time I see that Ford Taurus drive by, I says, oh, there's Detective Chase driving it. So I guess I'm a little confused. If you need a detective car for surveillance, having a radio and lights visible in the grille and the back light and everything else in that vehicle, how does that make it an undercover vehicle for surveillance when it's basically an undercover vehicle in plain sight?
I don't understand the question.
Basically, the detective's car is the Ford Taurus, which has radios and lights in it, which are publicly visible that you can see. And obviously that is the undercover car that you're
The
describing.
lights are not visible from,
I can see them in the grill. But anyhow, so if you need an undercover vehicle, what would, I guess I'm confused, because you say you need an undercover vehicle for surveillance, so by taking something similar to that, by putting a radio and antenna or lights on it that are visible versus buying a regular type of car, not a police car, because even, you know, for, just as an example, the city of Worcester, if they go buy a police car and it doesn't look like a police car, it's painted just one color, everybody still knows it's a police car, because it's Ford Interceptor sedan or Ford Interceptor utility. So why wouldn't there be a need, if you're looking for something undercover, to look for some other type of vehicle that doesn't look like a police car?
I'm not quite sure what your question has to do with the capital planning issue, but I think that's a question best served for another day if we get these cars approved.
Okay, so you don't have an answer for my question then?
I don't think it's relevant to this discussion, no.
Okay, that's fine.
I agree.
If you insist.
So, Chief, do I understand that the Expedition is off the road
Yes, it is.
and the Taurus is off the road?
Yes, it is.
When did you take the Taurus off the road?
When it came back from Lamrose after the inspection on it, I just parked it. That inspection was done on September 10th. It was picked up about a week later. So, about a month ago.
I'm sorry, what?
It was taken offline about a month ago.
And you're not using it at all?
Nope.
The fire department has no utility for that Expedition?
It's, the body is too far gone.
They have two vehicles now. I don't know. I think they have two.
They're looking for a utility vehicle. I think they modified that Humvee.
They did. It was put on the
So
road
that's
today.
not a utility vehicle though, it's
It's red.
it's different.
A passenger auto.
I don't know.
Call it a utility vehicle.
Well, they have two. Maybe they have three now. I don't know. I mean, I think it's far as this board is concerned, and if you want 2 vehicles, and we're going for 2 marked vehicles, we should pass that right away.
I think it'd be beneficial to the townspeople if someone from this board stood up in support of it.
Oh, I think we did last time.
No one stood up last time.
Well, you didn't. Actually, I was at that meeting.
I was waiting for a question and nobody asked one, but I think one of the things that's gone, and David, maybe you can help me with this, usually when an article comes up, they'll ask either finance or capital planning whether they approve or, and that hasn't been done.
Actually, I was at that last meeting, and I believe they granted you permission to talk, and you didn't say anything. You actually rescinded, and I may have this wrong, and it's not our purview, I'm sorry. This
No, I
is not-
rescinded, there was another article that I
There was another
I
art
asked
that
to
they
have that
rescinded,
removed.
yeah, because that car was not passed. And I'm sorry, this is not, we should actually just pass this. This is our board, we should, I believe we should just move on this and pass the 2 vehicles. For the finance committee, for the, for the board of selectmen, for the town meeting. We need these vehicles, and that's what we really should do.
The Board of Selectmen is strongly gonna support this article.
I think they did last time.
We didn't, there's really nothing, not too much was said the last time, the vote came very quickly. Not too much was said.
Because
in
we had the
discussion.
library stuff going
There's
on.
a
Yeah,
lot
there's
of
a lot of
things
stuff
going on.
going on, and,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, that does happen in town meetings. We
But
have all this
the,
other stuff going on.
But the board is strongly gonna support this, and we understand the need for it, and the board's strongly behind the board's purchase of 2 cars. And this, if we're going to purchase anything, this is the ideal time to do it.
Will it pass the town meeting, 2 vehicles?
I think there's a better possibility, because the vote this time is going to be strictly majority, not 2/3.
At the special town meeting?
That's correct.
I think the past 3 votes we've always gotten a majority, we've never gotten 2/3.
We tried the last time to take it out of money that was already appropriated. The problem with that, because it's still a stabilization type of account,
Sure.
it needed a 2/3 vote. This time, the money is gonna be coming out of free cash, and that's strictly a majority vote. So we feel, I'm not, I can't say it's definitely gonna pass, I don't know, but we feel strongly that there's more likely to pass this time than it has been in the last 2 or 3 times it was brought up. And the board is gonna strongly favor to say, we gotta do something to do it. So we think this is the best chance it has to pass.
You really can't wait until the other 3 cars go down to buy 4 or 5 vehicles. I mean,
I think it should be passed right away. I mean, this is a operating cost, this is not something, this is not rocket science here.
No, I understand.
And once, if these 2 were to pass, then that's when we're gonna sit down with the police department and finance and everybody else and try to figure out exactly, with capital planning, try to figure out what we're going to do to be able to do it in the future, to have some type of a schedule. And if I remember right, and that's if I remember right, the question was asked before why we stopped doing that at one time. I think back about 5 years ago, there was a problem where we stood financially and so forth, and we asked everybody to hold on to their capital request until we could figure out where we stand. Once we did that, it kind of threw a monkey wrench in the works and so forth, and that's, I think, how the whole thing started.
Then we decided, well, we would put new engines and
That's right.
transmissions in the old one and see how that went,
Right.
and then we did another one.
And I think that's a great idea. It didn't work, apparently it didn't work,
Mhm.
but it was a great idea. At least
Through-
they
through
did
the
try
new-
it.
The new purchase schedule, just deferred it again.
So it's 5 years, but there was 2 cars redone in the meantime, 2 engines and stuff put in. We all thought it was a good idea. We were saving about $20,000, I think, a vehicle or more.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. So that's how we got in the hole we got. First of all, it started telling everybody we're not gonna purchase anything unless we absolutely have to. Then we tried to save money, and maybe we saved it in the short term, but it sure didn't work out in the long term.
And those are the 2 line cars we're using now.
Right. They should be replaced with 4-wheel drive vehicles. Or they should be-
I think we sent 2 very capable people from this committee out to look at which vehicles to purchase, and I think they came back unanimous that that's what we should go with, with the four-wheel drive.
This is New England. So, you need them in.
These two vehicles that you get, they're gonna be marked cars,
Any place along cars.
and they'll be used for patrol.
It is noted on the article, the warrant was drawn up today, it was signed today, it'll be posted on Monday, that it states that they're marked vehicles.
And that was done today.
The warrant was signed today by the board, and it will be posted on Monday. And the meeting is the 12th, if I remember right.
So why aren't we discussing this if it's already done?
Still has to be discussed by capital planning.
Still
Capital
has.
planning has the right to give a recommendation one way or another. Now, it was discussed last year. The reason it's on is strictly because it was discussed last year, and the
It was
capital
approved
planning
last year.
was approved last year.
It should be
That's-
approved.
That's the reason it was on, because the capital planning approved it last year.
Sure.
That's basically the reason. Still, we want to give capital planning the chance to take a stance on it, whether they're in favor of it or not. And the same thing with finance. The warrant has been passed on to finance. It will be available we're trying to get it in the 2 post offices. We're trying to get it in at least 1 store in Warren and 1 store in West Warren, that people will be able to see the warrant before the town meeting.
That's actually the law.
You only have to post it in 2 places. We don't have to make the actual warrant available. We're gonna make actual copies of the warrant
okay.
available.
Okay.
Our bylaw says we have to post it in West Warren and Warren,
Right.
which we always do. But this is not only posting, it's gonna be make copies of the warrant themselves available.
I think it's a good thing.
We're trying to get it, it'll also be on the website, so.
And I think we should pass this.
Any other questions for the chief?
Whatever the board needs any information from me, I'm available.
Any questions, Bill?
No.
Okay, thank you for coming in, chief. And, hope that you get your 2 cars.
See. Thank you. Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
Night.
I think that we really need the vehicles for public safety, and also, as the chief says, for the patrolman's safety. I know that Jim and I went down and looked at the vehicles a couple of years ago, was it, Jim?
No, it was last March, February, March, it was still cold.
I get old, I forget, time goes by, you know.
And there's still the same vehicles.
Got it?
And, you know, we thought that the vehicles were good and everything like that. It was a quality buy for the town. And unfortunately, it didn't pass. And, you know, the thing that if we don't really get the votes to do this, it's more or less saying that, hey, we can't afford to buy 2 vehicles, but further down the line,
Oh, that's
we
the
got,
risk.
we got the
Gotta
money
be on
to,
paper.
you got the money
That's
to
the
buy
risk.
4
How
or
do we,
5.
how do we overcome that?
No,
How do we want to overcome that?
the risk is that's gonna be a ballot vote, and some people might say, well, I didn't think 2, maybe we can get 1, and they may vote no. I mean, it's easier going simple majority, but there might be people that don't have a problem with 2 at one time. Whether it will be enough to defeat it.
But is it the point? Is it the point?
Debating it.
I'm asking you now.
Well,
I am debating it right now. That's what we're doing.
Debate me, Chairman. it's me.
Well, not, I'm not the chairman either. I'm just curious, should we have this done? We should.
I have no idea. I have no idea why it failed the last meeting. It had
That
our
means you
support.
support it. Do you support it or not?
Of course. I supported 2 cars a year ago.
Exactly. And I do too. I mean, we should have, it's an operating cost, it's not a popularity contest.
Right, and it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
So
So we should support it.
I would think that everybody would be in favor of getting the vehicles. Any discussion on getting them or not getting them?
I think it's just called for a motion and see if the motion to approve or not.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion to get the two police?
Sure, I make a motion that we approve both vehicles that he requests.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? Okay, so everybody is in agreement to get the two vehicles. With the thing that I brought up about somebody telling me that these vehicles, do you think that that would be a good thing to have the police chief put it in his budget for whenever he comes up against the FinCom?
I think we have to look more into it before we say yes, do it.
It's a workaround.
I think we have, I'm not gonna say yes to it, I'm not gonna say no to it.
Neither.
But I think we wanna look at it more.
That's the selectmen's.
Neither would I.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out on the table.
And I think if the board's gonna, and we're gonna look into it, I think that the intention of is to have finance committee and capital planning sit with the board when it's discussed and open it to a round table and discuss the pros and cons of the whole thing.
I think the thing that would happen is if it was thrown into the budget and these two vehicles do get approved by the townspeople, the question that would be in the annual would be, we just gave you two vehicles, what the hell are you looking for other ones?
I'm not sure, and this is one of the things that's gotta be discussed, not only the fact that you want to discuss the possibility of leasing. I think the other question that has to be asked at the same time is, do we wanna put it into an omnibus budget, or do we wanna put it into, at least the first time you're gonna lease, okay, or do you wanna put it into a warrant article, that warrant article would carry over if you didn't use it? And I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying, I think you have to discuss that whole thing.
And it would be up to the selectmen, and then what comes up is, what do we use this leasing program for? Do we use it for unmarked vehicles? Do we use it for military vehicles, military style vehicles? Do we use it for commuter vehicles? Do we use it for personal vehicles? Do we use it for whatever? That would be up to you, not up to us.
But
That would be something that would be under the selectmen's.
I would think that if I was the chief and I would want to have the power to say where they're going to go, not to have somebody else tell me that you got to use this vehicle for that reason, when I may say, hey, I need it as a line vehicle.
Everybody has a boss, and the
Right.
selectmen are the boss.
No,
So-
I understand that, and I'm not,
And I think one other thing we're looking at right now is, I think the Board of Selectmen, well, I don't think I know, the Board of Selectmen agrees that we need two vehicles, we're actually behind time. And I think Bill's the one that brought up two last year, if I remember right.
right, he did.
I
And,
thought you only needed to do it one vote. I said, you
mhm,
don't have to go out and buy them on day one, the day after you got your vote. You
Absolutely.
buy one in the first part of the year and buy one in the second.
Absolutely.
You only need one vote.
the money's there, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. The other thing I think that the Board of Selectmen hasn't looked at, and I understand the chief sat here tonight and told you he needed 5 vehicles or 6 vehicles. Board of Selectmen hasn't gone over that yet. I'm not gonna commit to how many vehicles that we need.
Well, whenever I asked the question, I wanted to see if he could take one of the vehicles off his list, so to speak.
The question becomes is,
And what Bill said just a couple of minutes ago,
mhm,
it was almost like him punching the tape recorder, and he said exactly the same things a year ago with this.
yeah, the The board hasn't looked into the vehicle. The board talked at one time, and again, just talked. We didn't decide anything. The board talked at one time the possibility of eliminating at least one vehicle down there. Okay? Will that happen? I don't know. But I know the board
I think we
talked
should
about
get rid
that.
of 2 or 3, and apparently one of the military style vehicles is not considered a vehicle,
Oh.
which is kind of weird.
Well, the problem with that is this. I'll tell you where he's.
It's not a problem, it's,
Well, it is a problem, and I'll tell you why. The board talked about the Humvee at one time. The fire department's got a Humvee that they just put all, that we put money into fixing it up, it's painted red and it says fire department and everything. That was the vehicle that they were talking about, they wanted an SUV or something to bring people to fire. They have now fixed up the SUV, the Humvee. Humvee came to the police department, not the fire department. If we were to eliminate the Humvee from the police department, we have to give all the Humvees that we got back, which would include the one that the fire department just fixed up. Because it was actually given to the police department, not the fire department. It was the program itself, not the police department's.
so it's really a police vehicle.
It is
You
technically.
either call it what it is or not.
Right.
So it's a police vehicle.
There was 3 Humvees we picked up, not 2. There was 3 Humvees we picked up when we got them for nothing.
And we have to give it back.
Well, we don't have to give it back. If we give one back,
You have to give them all back.
you gotta give them all back. We have a spare one that we can use for parts. That was the whole issue for getting 3 of them instead of 2. Okay? The idea from the beginning was to try to loan one to the fire department for the time being, so we wouldn't have to buy an SUV.
But we're still gonna buy an SUV, we're actually gonna buy 2.
No, SUV replaces patrol cars.
That's what I'm saying.
But the idea, but they wanted
You
an
just said an
SUV.
SUV.
Yeah, they wanted another SUV.
I'm talking about military style vehicles, Humvees
Mm-hmm.
and SUVs.
That's what I'm saying. The fire
Can we
department
use
wanted
the
an
different
SUV.
distinction then, please, because you're adding, you're saying SUV, Humvee, military.
But the problem was that the fire department came into this board, if you remember, and one of the things they wanted to get was an additional vehicle to be able to take people to and from fires and all that out in
With
the,
gear.
out in the boonies.
That was before.
That was before.
My time.
We didn't want to
Sorry.
buy that particular SUV. The way we got around it was they're using the Humvee as that vehicle.
Because it was donated.
Right.
And that's great, but we have to give that vehicle back.
It's my understanding that if we
doubt it.
give one,
I really doubt it.
I think you're wrong.
Weird, man.
That's what we were told. The Board of Selectmen was told that.
I thought it was like, you take what you want,
It sounds
you know,
weird.
or if it doesn't work out, give it back to them.
It sounds
You
weird.
took
I'm
three,
just
so you
telling
gotta
you
give all
what we
three
were
back.
told.
It's like,
I'm just going by what we were told.
Who gave you that information, David?
I have to look, Jimmy, I don't remember who told
It
us.
sounds
And
weird.
How about the accompanying documentation that was provided with those vehicles?
I mean,
I have to see it, I don't have it. I'll check it out.
There should be documentation, hard maintenance records, vehicle descriptions, the equivalency of a line set
I will check it out, Jimmy.
every military vehicle has
And
one.
with that should be conditions of use and conditions of surrender.
Mhm.
If it's, which it was, came from a military pool.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see the language in that contract.
I will definitely get it for you. I'm just putting
I
out
would
what
make
we
a
were
motion
told.
to have that brought to the board. That would be great.
Is that?
I would make a motion to have that brought to the board. I mean,
You don't have to make a
this
motion.
board. Well, you know, it's your board, not our board. I don't know.
This board capital planning doesn't have control over a big vehicle that's already
But
here.
at least we should have the information.
I'll get you the
If-
information.
Okay. That's
Dave?
great.
Are you aware that some departments have tried to give their military surplus
I
back?
am aware of that.
The government
They can't.
doesn't want it?
Well, the government, let's put it this way, Gus, we know that if we gave it back, they're gonna scrap it. We know that already.
But, so what they're doing in many cases, they're using the departments, is free storage.
Mhm.
We don't have to store it, and anytime we want it, we just go get it.
They're not gonna go get it. I mean, it's a,
There was a lot of them.
yeah.
I'll get the paperwork. I'm going by what I was told.
Chuck, I know at the last meeting, you were going to check to see about the repairs on the vehicles down there at the
Maintenance records.
police station. you inquire about that?
Did he provide them?
I,
The motion wasn't seconded, so it wasn't.
no,
I
no.
thought that you were gonna go down there and ask them for the maintenance records, to look at them.
No, I was cut short by the reminder of a discussion outside the posted agenda, so I withdrew my participation in that.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
and there was no second to my motion.
That's why the motion wasn't seconded.
So, no, to answer your question, Jerry, no, I didn't.
So, everybody's in favor of the two police vehicles to back them up if, once we are asked, I'll just get up and say, yes, we agree with it for public safety and also for safety of the officers that are driving the vehicles.
The two 4x4 marked vehicles. We should
Yeah,
probably say
they're
that.
good. They're going to
We
be
should probably say that.
line vehicles, in fact.
We didn't say line, it says marked vehicles, is what
Marked
it says.
vehicles, yeah, but I
And
asked
they're
him there, and he said
four-wheel.
that they were gonna be in the line.
Yeah, they're gonna be, they are, the way the article reads,
I know the way that I say it, I mean, line vehicles means that.
we mean line vehicles too, but we put marked vehicles.
Yeah,
I think we should say it that way, just to be clear.
The article on the
Done.
town meeting,
See if the town will vote to raise an appropriate transfer from available funds or borrow $80,000 for the purpose of purchasing two fully marked police cruisers and related equipment to be used for police purposes.
It's already done, so we're just
Yeah, yeah.
wasting our time. I think that's great. We should support it.
oh, excuse me, did you say raise and appropriate?
it's not raising appropriate,
It's all options.
it's option.
Okay,
Can I ask a question about the future? I understand that there were some vehicles that were, grants were written for them. Is that potential for that for the future, that grants can be written to get new cars?
We can try, but there's no, you never know what we're gonna be able to get from grants at any given
I
time.
think the only grant was the Dare vehicle.
Yeah, we tried to get grants before and couldn't get them to get a vehicle.
We had a car paid for by
Just
US
grants.
Justice
Yeah.
Department
There's the Dare
Yeah.
years
vehicle.
ago.
And what vehicle
No, I
was
think
that?
it was
It was a
a
online
larger
vehicle.
SUV.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't the Dare
Was
vehicle.
it the
Cherokee?
Expedition we have now that's getting
What was it, the
scrapped?
Jeep?
I don't remember.
It was a Jeep,
I don't
it was
remember
the
Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was probably the Jeep from a long time ago.
It was
yeah.
the Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, okay.
So how did
From
that,
Syriac, I think was.
Yeah.
how did that
So,
opportunity come about? How was that arisen? Did the state have money and said, go ahead and write a grant?
They
Or-
send out guidelines for grants during the course of the year to the police department. Okay?
I think it was.
And it tells you what you can apply for. Jimmy can probably tell
They
you
were
more
there
than
at the
me.
time, so.
May I add some supplement to this conversation? Ron Syriac and myself went to Westover Air Force Base with a authorization from the board on town letterhead. And we were granted permission to do a walkthrough in a hangar, and it contained all sorts of mechanical equipment, welders, generators, pumps, file cabinets, desks, chairs. And out on the flight line or adjacent to the hangar were motor vehicles. They were pickup trucks. They were the, what's called a follow-me truck, Jerry, you know what that is. And there were Jeep Cherokees. And Ron opted to bring home a Jeep Cherokee. So I think that's Bill what.
I think so,
Yeah.
and we got the cash from the US Department of Justice
Yeah.
Department.
Yeah,
It
we
was-
got
that
that
was the
vehicle
Dare
for,
vehicle.
I think, just for the nod, for the paperwork from the Board of Selectmen. So
So that's not grant money.
Well, it was, I think it was like $19,000 from the US Department of Justice. Cash grant.
We had to
But
replace
I
that
think he
vehicle
must have
every year
applied,
after
so
that.
this is what I'm gonna do with it, or.
Well, Bill, these were surplus vehicles that
Yeah.
the Air Force.
Oh, you got them for nothing?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I know a car, I know.
I mean,
there was a
if that's
car
what
that
you're,
was purchased.
if you're looking for the origin of a Jeep Cherokee, we did bring one home.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a utility vehicle that the Air Force put out for surplus. And we took advantage of some file cabinets and some
Yeah,
shades.
well, same thing. To look at what's downstairs here, we went to the place up in, I don't know, Natick or someplace for surplus from the federal government. So that's where some of the petitions and
Grand
stuff came from.
Cherokee, that we replaced that Cherokee with.
Oh.
No, we replaced it with a Grand Cherokee.
But the first one we ever got
Right.
was from the Air Force.
Yep. I was around at that time, not in this board, but just as a.
Did that
voter.
become the dare?
That was the dare vehicle.
Was it? Oh, I thought
Yes.
Johnny Fidgel
No,
gave that or something.
no.
Did he detail it?
You might have painted it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the Grand, then I'm thinking the Grand.
That was after.
That
We
would
had
have
that
been
for
Glenn.
its life, and then we went to the expeditions
Yeah.
for some reason.
Anyway, yeah, Department of Justice, I think, funds that stuff occasionally. Who knows, kind of condition they're in now.
Okay, so, any other discussion on the police vehicles?
Yeah.
Okay. I talked to Harold the other day, I think it was yesterday. He brought up this thing that he was talking to the fire chief, and I gave everybody a copy of what the selectmen sent out. And I guess, okay, that there was a little bit of
This?
confusion as far as what the memo was asking for. They usually get one from the capital planning. And I went down and talked to Adam today, and he was looking to see if he could get some defibrillators. That would be about $5,000 or $6,000. I said that I would talk to the board tonight and, to talk about having him come in to talk about those. And also, I asked him that with the stuff that he already has, so to speak, on order, that if there is a new priority in which he wants these, he said that he would be willing to come in and talk to us about the priorities and also talk about defibrillators. Does anybody have any objections about him coming in?
No, here, go ahead.
When would the gentleman be sought?
Well, the thing that we do is next week we have the selectmen with the chairs, the playground, and 33 Chapel Street.
Chapman or Chapel?
Chapel.
Chapel,
Chapel.
okay? And that's gonna be on the 30th, next Thursday. The thing, as I brought up last week, the FinCom would like to come to that meeting. I think Sue already posted something on the board. She told me that she was going to post something on the board for that. Also, at the Finance Committee, they also wanted to have Bob Lavash and Dario come. I figured that while the selectmen were coming in for their chairs, the playground, that all selectmen would be there.
I'll ask them, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Now, as I say, next week was the selectmen. The week after, we have the highway department.
What's the calendar date, please?
The calendar date for the selectmen is the 30th.
Yep.
The one for the highway department is the 6th. Okay, and now the question is, would you want to have the fire chief come in on the 13th, 20th of November?
Can't we have them come in at the same time as someone else?
How's the highway?
Oh, either one.
Well,
Yes, the highway maybe.
highway. Okay, we
I
can,
mean, does that sound reasonable?
we can ask them, okay?
So taking up another day, not that I mind taking another day, I'm just saying, kill two birds with one stone.
Okay. Okay, so that would be, November,
What is the highway
On
department
the
doing?
sixth.
the highway department
What's
is,
that
On the
discussion?
sixth.
What's that discussion?
for the, I don't know.
I don't know either,
I
by the
gave
way.
you
This?
a stack of, I gave you all the requests that they had. I gave you one of these here.
I don't have.
That was last week or, yeah.
Yeah, so I really didn't look at it,
Okay.
because what I
Okay,
do is
sure.
I usually look at it.
I was just
prior-
wondering if
prior-
he's involved or not, that's all. Is he looking for something that's, you know,
And I would ask the highway department to prioritize their stuff too. So, Sue, would you wanna get a hold of the fire department, or do you want me to get a hold of,
I'm gonna send them an email and ask them if the sixth is okay.
yeah, okay.
When you do something like that, do you know, highway department at 7 and fire at 7:30, or do they both come in at the same time? It doesn't matter.
Well, I think the highway department would probably be a little bit later than that, but you can put 7:30, quarter of 8. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how long the highway department is going to take.
Okay.
I haven't really talked to Mr. Boudreau about that, so I don't really know how he's gonna, if I say anything, I'm gonna be wrong, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Well, I can do it as the new person.
me too. I hear you.
So whenever you plan something, Murphy's Law takes into effect.
It does,
So, any other questions, anything that anybody wants to bring up for the meetings that are coming up? Any things that we would want to get from any of the people that are coming up in the future?
We got paperwork from the cemetery commissioners. Is that on the back burner?
That was
They want a
something
barn
that
and,
they were gonna write a grant or something like that, so that they
Okay.
really had
so it's just
nothing to
FYI.
do.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Get lost.
Okay, so, if there's no other stuff to discuss, is anybody make a motion? Yes.
Really? Before you do, you want to put on, would you like to put on the next agenda that we still need to take action on the sewer request, because we haven't done anything with it
Well,
yet?
as we were talking the other day, that,
Yeah, Dave, that's for professional services that the sewer department wants.
Mm-hmm.
Does capital planning have to act on that, since it's for professional services, and that's not really, it's not gonna last 3 years, I hope.
it's,
You follow what I'm saying, it's
I know
not
exactly what you're
actually
saying.
equipment.
I know exactly what you're
It's not
saying.
equipment, so, you know, the thing that I would like to get,
Where's the money coming from? Let me ask what they're.
The transfer money out of their earnings.
they're taking out of
I'm not sure we have to be involved with that, the money that they're asking for, and I think Bill knows more about this than I do, but I think their money that they're asking for is because of the new regulations and so forth
right,
from the state, and what they're trying to do is cut back the amount of money that they're gonna have to spend. So the professional services is actually trying to be able to reduce something in the future. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's.
That's the way Franny explained it to me.
Engineering services.
I don't think they're cutting away from the future at all, they're spending money now.
Yeah, but you have to know what's coming in the
It's all
future.
soft money to, to negotiate
To be
some of the
compliant.
mandates, yeah,
Mhm.
with respect to phosphorus reduction.
Well, I
Copper
suppose
reduction.
it can't hurt if you vote on it anyway.
Yeah, I think they have the right to do it by law, but,
It's all studies, the question is,
Yeah.
are studies, I think your question is, are studies capital in nature?
yeah.
Well, that's it, but the only thing is, you might consider capital out of the whole request, if they get it,
Mhm.
is the GIS mapping.
Yeah, but I think, and I agree, I think that it's not a capital expenditure because you're trying to hire somebody for professional services, number
Right.
one. And number two, the money's coming out of their reserve, not from the general fund type of thing. So I think we can talk about it, I don't have a problem talking about it.
Well, we met with them
That's
But
not-
already.
I think they have the right to do it.
Yeah,
We
but,
agree with that.
and we took no vote, and now you was questioning.
Yeah.
I
didn't
started
take a
thinking
vote.
about it, so
No.
that's professional service.
No,
It
It
doesn't
should be,
really
because
come under the board
it's not,
jurisdiction.
it's not an asset, so to speak, and it's just
Sure.
for, so to speak, services.
But, whatever.
Seeing that was brought up, I was gonna bring that up at the, whenever the selectmen come in on the 30th. That, where they get votes, and I know that, whenever I talk about this, I usually get, told that departments can do more or less what the heck they want to do. Some departments, okay? But I would think that it's been a while since I've been out of construction. I forget what the bid laws say over a certain dollar value, Bill, can you help me out?
Probably not.
That they have to go out first?
What are we talking about?
Well, that you have
Bid?
to.
I'll be
From
back.
Ty and Bond?
Bids?
For professional engineering, professional services?
No, I'm just talking about bids in general. Is there
Bids in
20,000 or something like that? I forget what it is. I remember we had to do it whenever I was working in construction a couple of years ago, but I try to forget all that stuff. Anyway,
You mean their bid from Ty and Bond?
well, the thing that
Or their
I
quote, their quote?
the thing that I was trying to get to is, and David just left, that over a certain dollar value, my pet peeve is with the Board of Health, okay, that they went out and got somebody to do the dump, landfill, transfer station, whatever you wanna call it. And that is what, I'm talking about bids and stuff like that that's
Yep.
going out. And, my pet peeve is with the Board of Health. I was thinking that if any, bid that goes out, or any request for money, I think should probably go through the selectmen to approve it after the 3 bids, you know? Have the department pick out who they wanna do it, and have the selectmen put their blessing to it. Now, my pet peeve, as I said before, is with the Board of Health. I don't know how many people were on the board at the time that they come up here and they wanted the compactors and we gave it to them, the $10,000. I understand that at the time that they had somebody in Southbridge that was going to haul the stuff away and all of that. It was also my understanding that they were gonna put the thing on the town floor for a vote. That did not happen. They signed a contract with solid waste or whatever they are. And it is also my understanding that in the 2 years that they have had this dump, transfer station, whatever you wanna call it, the town has not received one penny. It is also my understanding from somebody that read the agreement, that if these compactors fail to operate, we're on the hook to fix them. And I'll tell you what, I would love to get a sweetheart deal like that. I would like to open up a grocery store, have the town pay for it, and sell it for 25% below the cost of the town, then have the town restock my shelves for me. That's what it sounds like to me that would happen. And I know that I'm carrying this chip on my shoulder for a long time. So, you know, and I've been told that that certain departments in the town can go out and sign their own contracts.
Is that true, David?
Yes.
Yep,
Why is it true?
by state law.
Okay.
The most powerful, one of the most powerful boards in this town is Board of Health. Okay? Because of the way it's written in state law.
Can I ask a question? Completely off the topic. Are they the ones that are responsible to clean up out after that, from that house across from St. Paul's that has trash going all the way down into the river?
That was gonna be my next thing.
Refrigerators,
The
cars.
Board of Selectmen sent a letter to the people that own that particular house and told them to clean it up, which they did.
Really?
But, well, let
They
me
threw
finish.
it out the back?
Let me finish. Okay? Apparently from what some members of the board have been told, that the way they cleaned it up was throw it down by the river.
Yep.
Okay? That would be, most likely the Board of Health that would have the power to do anything about it.
And environmental protection for all that garbage that's
State.
running into the river?
That's the Board of Health. That's the Board of Health.
That's disgusting.
Now, it might be conservation or somebody might be able to get involved in that, but main thing would be the Board of Health. If you're gonna ask me if it's ever been reported to the Board of Health, the answer is yes.
And it hasn't been, nothing's been done.
I can't answer if anybody went down there, I can just say I know it was reported to the Board of Health.
Do you know if there was a follow-up letter for response in writing?
That I would have to look and see, I don't think so, Jimmy. But I know someone reported it.
Have you seen it now, sir?
I saw it last year, I don't wanna see it because I'm sure it's multiplied 100 times.
We've lost the foliage on the tree, you can stand in the parking lot and look
Oh,
across
sure,
it.
that's right, yeah.
I know there's quite a bit of junk down by the river.
If you were looking to buy a house out in this area and you went driving through the town of Warren and you saw all the junk that was there, would you be willing to buy a house in this town?
You have to explain to me what junk you're talking about, Jerry.
The junk that was out in front of their house is,
But I do know, I wouldn't, that's the reason that was brought up at a selectmen's meeting and a letter sent.
now, if we were to, we being a town, okay, could you clean, after you send a certified letter to the person that owned the building,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Could you then tell them that within so many days we'll clean it up and we'll send you a bill?
I'd have to look at it, but I think it would have to still be through the Board of Health. Remember the house up on Bemis? Only reason that got cleaned
The
up.
derelict house, the
Hmm?
one that's abandoned.
Yeah, that got cleaned up, but it got cleaned, no, it was cleaned up the first time, I don't know what. It was cleaned up because the Board of Health stepped in and said, we're gonna take care of it, we're gonna clean it up and then build the unit of the house at the cost.
The problem that I've seen, Dave, because I've had interaction with
Mhm.
them, they pick and choose their fights.
Absolutely.
There is no blind impartial enforcement. It's.
Or
it's-
uniform.
Or uniform, thank you. It's they pick and choose the properties that are gonna be examined and enforced.
I don't disagree with you.
I mean, and Jerry brings up a wonderful point. You can come through one of the main arteries coming into Warren,
Mm-hmm.
and there are pieces that are open and notorious
Mm-hmm.
and have stood in such conditions for years.
Yep.
And they're well aware of it, because there are town officials that travel that road every day,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing's being done about it.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, one of the reasons that article is on the upcoming special town meeting for Chapel Street is because of the fact, we're concerned that something's gonna happen to that house, okay, and somebody's gonna get hurt there, and then we're gonna tear it down. The board can put an article on for that.
Well, you have 10 of those houses.
We have more than one, that's for sure.
There's one next to me, there's one on Southwood Street. I mean, they're all over.
But,
Crescent Street, whatever.
but that's the Board of Health has the power to take care of that.
Well, as people have said here, they pick and choose what they wanna do and where they wanna turn a blind eye to everything. Excuse my expression, I think the Board of Health is about as useless as sticks in a bowl.
I'm not making any comment other than to say that.
People have heard me say that before, but
It's pretty scary if they're the most powerful.
Well, I say the most powerful concerning a lot of things,
Oh,
okay? They have a lot more power than people think they do.
They can.
yes.
Yes, I'd just like to talk to the board for about 2 minutes, if that's okay.
You're on.
Okay, mind if I go over there? Just a
I
second.
don't care what.
What's it about?
I just wanted to actually, since we're talking about police vehicles and stuff, I just wanted to just bring something to the board's attention, and something that
All
we're
right,
interested
I'll
in.
see you later.
I think that.
That's not appropriate here.
What?
I think that.
If you're gonna do it, you should have done it when the police department was there.
That's right. Should have brought it up at that time there.
Oh, okay. Can I just talk about it?
No,
It just,
No,
how can I not talk about it?
because you had to do it when the police was here.
because you had to do it whenever the chief was here.
But
You know,
it's,
it's
but
not-
it- but it's not,
it's
it's
not-
something for the, it's
it's
not
not-
specific to the chief,
Okay,
police chief.
let me say this.
Yes, go
It's
ahead.
not fair to talk
Yeah,
about police vehicles whenever the chief is not here,
okay.
okay? Me,
Yeah.
as, so to speak, being the chairman,
Right.
I don't wanna hear it. Okay, point blank,
You don't wanna hear what? You mean?
what you have to say. If you
Why-
had something,
Why is that?
why? Because you should have brought the thing up whenever he was sitting here.
Right.
You're more or less talking behind the guy's back, and I don't like that.
Right, well, I'm not here to
Okay,
talk about.
is there a
him.
motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
So opposed.
So all I was gonna ask is, we're interested in purchasing the SUV if you're willing to sell it. So you're gonna tell me so if we would offer you several $1,000s to purchase that Ford Expedition, you're gonna tell me you don't want it? Because we already bought a
If
Cruiser.
you
Yes.
wanna buy it,
Yes,
you go down and you talk to the chief.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me,
okay.
okay? I'm sorry to be blunt with you.
Right.
You should have brought the thing up whenever the chief was there,
Need the air.
Right.
okay? I'm not gonna talk behind somebody's back.
Okay.
I'm cranky too.
Nice to meet you, I'm Mike Ferrell.
Jim?
See you, Wallace?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, that's my pay. From the veterans. Yeah, good, thank you, Bill.